Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing another why video. Why I will never become a minimalist. Do people care about these videos? These like personal ones? I don't know. So when I was in my 20s, I really cared about the aesthetics of my home. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I think everyone cares about their aesthetics of their home. Like they want it to look nice. You want to have like nice things, you know? But now at my age, I just feel like I would much rather have my house function for me than look pretty. And minimalism is really appealing to a lot of people because of the clean and organized look. That's what a lot of people go for because they think that is like the standard. It's supposed to look super nice, like no one lives there. And who doesn't love decluttering, right? And just generally owning less stuff. It feels super satisfying to get rid of a bunch of stuff. And I'm not gonna sit here and try to claim that I ever truly tried to be a true minimalist by any means, because that was never going to be possible for me. So I never lived the life, I never fit the aesthetic. I tried very hard, but I always had too much stuff and it's not the right fit for me. But I definitely attempted the shelves that were just for decor, just for aesthetics, and the all white bedding and the blank walls, etc. And I think that's one way that I personally went wrong in attempting to try minimalism, is that because of social media, we have one image in our heads of what we think minimalism actually looks like, you know, like Kim Kardashian's house. But realistically, I wouldn't own decor that didn't serve a purpose if it was true minimalism. Minimalism is more about the function and only owning what you absolutely need and use, but social media has ingrained in us that it's really more about appearances. So before we continue on with my personal reasons why I will never become a minimalist, I just want to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of different types of classes, from creative to motivating classes, things to fuel your hobbies or develop new skills. Creative challenges and productivity classes are a great way to add a little structure to your day and set up achievable goals. They literally have classes for every single person, no matter what your hobby, your interests, or your future career might be. Whether you want to start a new hobby in photography or fine art, or something more like entrepreneurship or freelancing. A class that I've really enjoyed taking so far is called Creativity Unleashed: Discover, Hone, and Share Your Voice Online by Nathaniel Drew, who is in fact another online content creator. He talks about how to find your individual value online and how to overcome insecurities. So I would highly recommend it if you are a content creator already, or if you're interested in becoming one day. The first 1,000 people to click the link in my description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. After that, it's only around $10 a month. So back to minimalism. I see minimalism more so as a trend than like a true lifestyle, I would say. It's more of an aesthetic. Obviously, minimalism started as like an art style, right, in the early 20th century. Am I mistaken on that? But then of course it's developed a new meaning in modern times. I definitely think it is a trend that is dying slowly, because I see a lot of people posting about maximalism on social media, which I just find so much more comforting to look at, and just it's more realistic and way more aesthetic if you ask me. I love seeing the lived-in homes on social media, the ones that actually function for the people who live there and not just look good. I mean, our space in our home is meant to serve us. It's meant to function for us. So there should be no morals or guilt or shame associated with how much stuff we own, or if there's clutter or mess. And I don't know about you, but I love being surrounded by all my stuff. I like looking at it, right? I love my stuff, and that's okay to love stuff. It's okay to have things that you're attached to emotionally just because it's there. I love looking at all the stuff I really love surrounding me. That's what makes it feel like a home to me, and what makes it function for me is that I have all my stuff accessible to me. It's not all tucked away in bins. Actually, if you were a minimalist, you wouldn't own half the stuff that I do. Just useless clutter and decor and minimalist decor and like bare surfaces is just not for me. But if that serves you and your space, I'm not here to pass judgment on that. If it works for you, you do you. I'm just saying why I personally cannot be a minimalist. So I find that when we only own exactly what we need, we tend to put too much attachment to that and too much importance on the things that we actually own. We end up feeling overly attached to what we do own because there's so little of it. On one hand, this can be a positive, like when we have a curated wardrobe, for instance, not capsule closet. I'm not talking like, oh, I only own 10 pieces of clothing. I mean like when we have a wardrobe that functions for us, that we love, ideally we wear and use everything in our closet closets. We shouldn't be overbuying clothes, and we should see clothing as something very important. And I'm not saying to just buy everything because it shouldn't matter anyway. I don't know if that's what you were getting anyway from that statement. But obviously, because of textile waste and fast fashion purposes, we shouldn't be overbuying clothing. But I've done a million videos on that already, so you could go watch those. My point is, it's okay to have a few knickknacks that make you happy, and to have them not because they do anything, but just because they make you happy. I think minimalism can go too far to the point where we care too much about what we actually own instead of living life freely and focusing on the things that are more important. Which is ironic that I feel like minimalism has become this, because the core of minimalism and the purpose of minimalism is to own as little as possible, or just to own less, so you can focus on the experiences instead of physical things. However, that mentality, if you've ever tried minimalism, is really hard to get into, especially if you've always been someone who has been around a lot of stuff, or if you're a collector of something, or you have hobbies that require a lot of supplies, or like you get souvenirs from places that you travel to. I think minimalism started off as something that was really inspiring, to be able to own less and focus on experiences and what life is really about, and it's not about physical stuff. However, minimalism is still about curating your stuff and your physical belongings down to what you absolutely need, and only what you need, just down to the essentials. So it's still focused on stuff, even though at its core it's about something entirely different. So maybe it's a spectrum. Maybe minimalism is on a spectrum, and it's not always black and white. It's not either you're minimalist or you're not. I just think minimalism has a new definition today than maybe it started out as. Also, minimalism feels like a capitalist movement, and it's a little classist to me. Most of the time, minimalism is about acquiring and investing in pieces that will last you a lifetime, or that are better quality, right? Instead of the junk or whatever. But the reality is, not a lot of people can afford to invest in these pieces or buy furniture that's not from IKEA, and that's okay. I read a great quote about minimalism from an article I will link down below. It says, "The only people who can practice minimalism in any meaningful way are people upon whom it isn't forced by financial or logistical circumstances." Basically, it feels like these people cut back to bare bones simply for an aesthetic, or it's performative to look like, look, I don't care about having things, even though you've spent $4,000 on a piece of furniture. And it's absolutely a privilege. The fact is that only those with too much stuff can afford to become a true intentional minimalist. I have seen some van lifers call themselves homeless, even though they live in a fully renovated, functional van that they chose to move into. You're not homeless. People, this is kind of separate from minimalism, although I think they're kind of related, is people have chosen the homeless lifestyle or the homeless aesthetic, and that rubs me the wrong way, because that is very classist. First of all, to call yourself homeless when you live in a van that has a kitchen and a toilet. Like, I'm sorry, that's not what homeless is. You may not have a physical home building. You have a home though. You have somewhere to go for shelter. Minimalism often has this spiritual facade to it that makes people choose it for morality reasons, like I'm such a better person because I don't care about stuff. Companies are actually preying on this minimalist aesthetic and selling items that are more accessible to everyone, which kind of defeats the purpose of minimalism and thus becomes about capitalism. So I want to talk about why I personally don't think I could ever become a minimalist, besides these other reasons I've already listed that make it just very unappealing to me. I consider myself a chronic clutter person. I will always have clutter in every room. I may have one room clean at a time, but not all at once. I'm not doing a whole house full of no clutter. That's just, it's not realistic for me. I have a lot of stuff and I don't mind the clutter because I've always been a kind of messy person, like untidy person, I would say. In high school, I was a lot worse. You couldn't walk in my room. But just as someone who has too much stuff anyway, which obviously I need to cut back to, like I need to do a declutter. There's nothing wrong with decluttering your stuff too. It's not like I'm anti-minimalism so much that I'm gonna become a hoarder or something. But just as a chronic clutter person that always has stuff on surfaces, and I just have clutter, which is all stuff that I like. So at least there's that. Minimalism just isn't gonna work for me. I actually used to have more stuff. As you guys know, I had a storage unit for about 6 years full of garbage. I had 2 storage units at one point in time, which is highly embarrassing to have 2 storage units what was I, 28, 29? But I did manage to get rid of it. So if you want to watch my journey of getting rid of my 6-year-old storage unit and going through it and throwing stuff away, go check out that video. Another reason why I will never be a minimalist, I will never own less than 50 t-shirts. It's not in the cards for me. I collect t-shirts. You guys know this. I wear a lot of t-shirts. It's my favorite thing to wear all day, every day, at night, doing whatever. It's my thing. I love collecting t-shirts, and that is just something I cannot pare back because I get emotionally attached to my clothing, very much so, especially my t-shirts that have my favorite bands on them or my favorite horror movies on them, that I just cannot part with them. Another reason, I will always own a lot of Halloween decor. I'm up to 4 bins now. I had to buy another bin this year because I purchased more Halloween decor, and I just personally could never do a minimalist Halloween look. Like, I hate that. I hate how it looks. No offense if you do that. I like a messy Halloween. I like clutter Halloween. I love a lot of Halloween decor. So I own a lot of it, and that's something that I'm very attached to as well. It's my favorite holiday, obviously, and that's something that I'm also not willing to declutter in mass. Yet another reason I cannot become a minimalist, I love physical media. I always have. I grew up in the age of the internet, when it was invented, when DVDs were invented. I remember that. And I'm old, okay? So I grew up in the age of physical media where DVDs were invented, CDs, obviously physical books has always been a thing, but you know what I mean. It's a nostalgia thing for me to collect and own physical media. DVDs were of my era. They are some of my favorite things that I own, is my DVD collection. I love reading physical books. I'm not one of those hipster people that are like, ew, Kindle? I could never. I own a Kindle, okay? I don't mind ebooks. I read books on my phone. A lot of my self-help books are actually read on my phone through Apple Books or whatever. But I love collecting physical books as well. I just like the feeling of reading them. I don't know. I like to have the books that I've read as well. A lot of people will declutter the books that they've already read or pass them on to someone else. I like to keep them because I'm kind of selfish. I just like to have them because I may reread them, which I do reread books all the time. CDs, I still own CDs. Even though they're obsolete at this point, I love CDs. Again, that was my era. I grew up listening to CDs, so. Yet another reason why I will not be a minimalist, I collect Harry Potter merch, specifically from Depop and Etsy, only secondhand. I don't buy new Harry Potter merch at all, by the way, because I do not support the author of it, she who must not be named. But now I own multiple copies of each of the books, and I didn't think that I would be one of those collectors that would own multiple copies. Here I am. I have 2 full sets of Harry Potter books, and I'm still collecting more, and I collect little merch and trinkets and things from Harry Potter secondhand. And that's just one of my hobbies, is collecting and searching online for secondhand Harry Potter goods. So I hope I'm not like dogging on the minimalist lifestyle too much, because it is inspiring in a way. I just feel like it's become a different thing, and a lot of people are drawn to it for the wrong reasons, and it is not for everyone. And I think a lot of people try to fit into it, and it ends up not working out, and then they think they're just really messy of people, or they are they own too much stuff, when in reality it's probably a normal amount. Like, it's okay to be normal and have clutter and have your home serve you and function for you and store your stuff. That's what it's there for. Again, there's no morals attached to owning stuff or cleaning or anything like that. It's just there to function for you. It's just there for you to live in. And whatever works for you should be the standard, not what you see on social media. But don't try to fit into a box. Don't try to fit into a certain aesthetic, because ultimately your home is where you live, not where everyone else lives. It doesn't need to look good to everyone else. It just needs to serve you. Anyway, this video was kind of all over the place. I hope it was structured a little bit. I tried to organize it a little bit, but I know it's like, it's very, it's a lot. Let me know if there's any other topics you'd like me to discuss in this kind of video format, where I answer a why question, why this, why that, or just any other topics you'd like me to cover. Companies you want me to cover, anything like that. Leave it in the comments. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.